My guest today was deported from Australia, detained in Africa. She was the planned victim of a thwarted terror attack. They were going to behead her. She almost won The Apprentice, and she's done all of it with a smile and snark that drives her critics out of their mind. She is irreverent. She, I think, is hilarious. She's never politically correct. She's from the other side of the pond, as they would say. TV star, political commentator, stand-up comedian, author, self-proclaimed biggest in Britain. This is a roller coaster. You are going to love Katie Hopkins. Hi, Katie.
Well, hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I've been waiting for this conversation for a long time. You have the most bizarre, I don't know, resume. I mean, I'll just start here. Okay. Here's an excerpt from your bio. Katie's lived her life in the crosshairs. She is banned from South Africa by the ANC, deported from Australia for criticizing lockdown, was the target of a jihadi plot to behead her. I found you interesting before I knew any of that. Let's just start with South Africa.
Let's start with South Africa.
Let's start there. Okay.
So I knew of the white farmers being butchered on their land by black gangs. And because I had such a big platform, Mail Online columnist twice a week on Tucker when he was Fox, my own radio show, the point where I was the most noisy, people would often reach out and say, no one's hearing us. And the more I looked, the more I heard, and the more I wasn't happy with no one speaking.
Like no one.
No one. No, in fact, the opposite, of course, this is always the case, which is, oh, the Rainbow Nation. Yeah. Oh, isn't it so great? And people going over to the polite parts to have a concert in age of supporting, I don't know what they thought, this massive multicultural glory pot that they pretend South Africa is, which it is not. And so I got funding. I raised funding. I got a cameraman. I got a security squad of proper, decent men. And I went out there and lived on the farms in South Africa for 3 months. And at night in South Africa, on white farms, is where the monsters come. And it is a targeted campaign of wiping out white farmers with a level of butchery, which we won't talk about here, but it is at a level that is everything to do with revenge and vengeance.
Talk a little bit about it, because I don't think most Americans know. I mean, President Trump brought it up, and I couldn't believe how many Americans were like, what's happening?
Yes.
And it was immediately denied. Immediately denied.
And even now, they'll say, oh, that's obviously been discredited as a nonsense.
Right.
So 5 years ago, I was over there, and in the night on white farms, gangs of black men armed with weapons that were laid down by whites during the time of apartheid. It's aided and abetted by black police forces. I have a black police officer on record saying he knows it's part of the police helping these gangs, and they come in, and what they do to farmers and their families. The police try and pocket this away as a burglary that went wrong. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about irons plugged in and the victims being burnt. I sat with a guy, and they used what do you call those machines where they put gas in and it you can melt metal with? They took one of those to him.
Yeah, a welding torch.
A welding torch. They took that to him. Another lady, they shot her husband in front of her and the children, and the child went to get her piggy bank to give to the gang to ask them to leave her mummy to live. And the lady buried her husband and then gave birth to their first son the next day. I mean, the story is a lady whose face was blown off and she had it rebuilt. It's all there. It's all documented in my documentary, Homelands, or Plasmord, which means murder in place, murder of the farms. And the white crosses on the hillside represent each farmer that has been killed and butchered by these gangs. And it is terrifying, it is vengeful, and it is the biggest, strongest kept silence because people have to pretend that South Africa is a success story. And I also spent time in the slums, white families, and I'm not saying it's not possible for white families to live that way, but white families, because they can't work because of this, if you own a business, you had to hand it over to the government. Land expropriation without compensation, which means we're taking your farm. And the thing that is never understood, I don't care what colour you are, you can understand that a farm doesn't farm itself. Trees that formerly were dripping with avocados and walnuts, if they just go onto those farms once they've expropriated them, and they just pillage the roof off the farm building, pillage the tyres from the tractor, pillage the metalwork out of machinery, then the farm disappears and collapses, which is why Zimbabwe is now it used to be the breadbasket and is now barren because land doesn't farm itself.
Correct.
And so I spent a lot of time with those people. It changed me fundamentally and forever. And the biggest sort of the thing I carry with me in my heart is the big Boers of South Africa, these big, powerful white men who say we will die in our boots for the love of the land. And what was so interesting yesterday with Charlie was that Pete stood up there and said Charlie died in his boots. And so for me, so many threads of time are weaving themselves together. And I couldn't be more proud that 80 plus a million Americans voted in President Donald J. Trump, and that he has recognised, with the help of Elon Musk, recognised the South Africans' plight. And after 5 years of waiting, that was quite a moment for many of us.
But has anything happened?
No. I could go there again and film the same thing again. They sleep. I mean, if I could show you and take you, you can watch the documentary. But so they have houses. So I slept in these homesteads. It's terrifying. And they've ripped out the ceilings. So there's rafters. They have ladders up to the rafters. They have slam doors from the kitchen to the bedroom so that if they are attacked, the children know. They get up those ladders and get into the rafters. They have their guns in the rafters so that the father or the mother can try and protect the kids and shoot downwards in their own homes. You know, I had a young son when I went, and he's older now, but, you know, he used to think monsters would come at night. You know, Mum, there's a boogeyman under my bed. But in South Africa at night is when the monsters come. And it is a very frightening place.
It seems to me to be the same kind of philosophy that we're dealing with here in America with social justice. There is no forgiveness. It is, you did this, your parents, grandparents, in our case, great-great-great-great-grandparents, so you can never be forgiven, and we're taking it from you, and we want you to know exactly what it was like, as if in America, as if these people had any clue. It's just hate and vengeance.
Vengeance. And also, so, you know, like for you guys, reparations, or David Lammy in the UK wants to pay reparations from white people who've never owned a slave to black people who've never been a slave.
You stopped slavery.
That's not good enough now. But the other unspoken truth that I obviously sat with so many of the black farm workers as well, of course, they have been with their white farms for generations. Their great-grandparents worked the farm, and now they work the farm. It's a safe and stable and secure partnership that they share. The kids' nannies are now they are all in together. It works. It's not an apartheid thing. It's just a system of working the land. And now those poor black farm hands and farm workers who share the toil, they don't have work either, which is classic of how this works. You know, if you take the George Floyd stuff in Minneapolis, I went in amongst the George Floyd mob when they took over that cross-section at the gas station. I pretended to be one of them. They burnt down everything that poor black people need to be able to function. They burnt down the cup store or whatever it's called. They burnt down the fuel station. They burnt down everything black people need, because their need for vengeance was greater than their love of their brother. Okay, so we have so many. So we got to get to the part where you get kicked out. Of South Africa. Yeah. Well, it actually happened. I went in securely and secretly, as you would if you're me. Started releasing immediately, but I delayed a month. So I'd already been there a month and I started to release the truth of the land because I was determined it to be heard. But of course, then the ANC picked up that I was in country. So they were behind me, kind of chasing me as I went to find the stories and tell the stories of these men and women slaughtered. So that by the time I went back to the airport, the ANC had caught up with me. They changed my passport details. And at the airport, when I handed my passport in to try and leave, it beeped. And I knew. And my security detail that was with me knew. And they took my passport. So my security detail radioed to the lads who were all in the van, still in the car park to me. And he told them to be armed and ready, so that if the South African police took me, they would open fire on the South African police, because if I go to a South African police jail, I'm not coming out of there. But as it turned out, classic South Africa, it was a Sunday. And on Sunday, the police chief wasn't in work. So eventually I got my passport back. My security detail got me on the plane. And not until they were wheels up was I allowed to relax or stop. He still had his hand on the back of my cuff as we took off. And I have no regrets or no concerns for that. But that is the level they will go to stop this being told. And they're very successful because there is a receptive audience of Democrats who prefer to look the other way.
Back with Katie in just a minute. Right now, the average American is still finding it difficult to pay expenses every month. In more cases, there's nothing left to cover any extras. Most aren't getting a big raise. Expenses being up so high, it can be hard to manage really anything in life, without grabbing for the credit cards. If you are a homeowner and you are frustrated with that endless cycle that only produces more debt, I want you to take 10 minutes today. 10 minutes. Call American Financing. If you're constantly carrying a credit card balance each and every month with an interest rate in the 20s, some of them in the 30s, American Financing can show you how to put your hard-earned equity to work and get out of that debt. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving their customers an average of $800 a month, and that could be you. And if you get started today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. No upfront fees. It doesn't cost you anything to find out how much you could be saving. And every month, American Financing is saving this audience a buttload of money. The average person saves about $830 every month from this audience. So call them. 800-906-2440. It's 800-906-2440. AmericanFinancing.net. Okay, so
that was South Africa.
So then you're in Australia,
yes.
And you're doing the not Big Brother, but
yes, no,
is
exactly.
It Big Brother?
It's a terrible program called Celebrity. It's absolute tosh,
right? And
I don't like to brag, but I'm not an idiot. But you are required rather to be an idiot to do that show. Mm-hmm. But the reason I said yes, so I had done it in the UK, and I'd gone in as the most hated, and I'd come out as the most loved, and I was whatever. Doesn't matter. They wanted some of it. But what was unique about this was I was supposed to go and do Celebrity Brother when Australia was not just locked down. I don't know if you knew about Australia, but it was punitive.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Andrews went full communist. So parents whose... for mothers or whoever, their parents were dying, they weren't allowed to go there. Yeah. They were brought in, kept in quarantine, and even when they say their elderly father was given 24 hours, they weren't allowed to go and see. Mothers kept from their children in Australia. They couldn't return. I mean, it was
awful.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, little internment camps.
Internment camps. They actually started picking off as well Aboriginals that wouldn't comply and putting them in camps. And everyone nodded along. Right, rational, sensible people, certain family members thought this was okay. That's the level, just to take us all back there, which I know we all feel it very strongly still. And at that same time, the Australian media organisation that do CBB, Celebrity Big Brother, invited me to be on that tawdry little show. So I was supposed to go in there with Caitlyn Jenner, he, she, her, them, which would be delightful, and Meghan Markle's brother. So the brother of the trailer trash. So that would have been equally delightful. And I said, yes, you know what? And I said, yeah, sure, bring me over. I'll go on your little show. And they brought me over. They flew me over. They had sent military men. I say that term loosely. They're not American military men. Australian military men to get me off the plane, to take me to quarantine, to put me in a quarantine prison for 14 days, because obviously COVID would know, before they were going to let me go and do TV in a country that wouldn't allow its mothers to return to its children. And I was told, right, so I got taken up to this flat on my own. And my husband said, look, little birdie, because he calls me little birdie. He said, little birdie, I don't see this going well for you. And you may have noticed, I'm not really responsible to be allowed to be on my own company for too long, so I'm really annoying. Yeah, so he knew this was going to be a disaster. They put me in this little flat. They taught military men who must have been given the order to then execute the order. And I was looking at them like, who are you? I was not allowed a key. I was not allowed to touch the front door of my hotel room. I was not allowed to come out for food. When they delivered the food, they would knock on the door. I was given a little egg timer. This is true story. With 6 seconds, I had to turn the egg timer, wait 6 seconds because obviously COVID would know, and then I was allowed to go to the door to get my food. I mean, the age, I wasn't allowed to look out the door, not to reach the door, just to take my food. I wasn't allowed to tell anyone I was there. I wasn't allowed to speak. And honestly,
unbelievable. Yeah,
my own company for 2 days. So I was in the window of my apartment and I was like naked, trying to like attract attention from over the way, because obviously I'm a desperado. Then I realized everyone was locked down, so there was no one in the block opposite anyway. So day 3 and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous now. So I went live on my YouTube channel to 3 million people. And I was like, I am in Australia. They brought me in here for a tawdry TV program. You're not allowed to see your own relatives. You are being lied to. I call on Australian people to rise. And I was off on one then. I was in full blooming Winston Churchill mode. And I gave it some welly like crazy. And then I looked over the cooker and there was this vegetable oil on the cooker. And I don't know what went on. I was in my zone. I was in performance mode. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? The next time they knock on my door to bring my food, I am going to strip myself naked. I'm going to cover myself in vegetable oil and I'm going to make a run down the 29th floor and I'm going to grab a member of that military and I'm going to drag him into my room and I'm going to do terrible things to him. And then that went out on Al Jazeera, on BBC, on CNN as actually having happened. And they put the headline, Katie Hopkins violates military on 29th floor. So then within a moment, my life went very dark indeed. So they turned off the water, the lights, no more food. They were going to...
How?
Immediately, because the government, because this was global news, the government were denying that I was given a visa, like a broke-in, to do a TV show. No one wanted anything to do with why someone was allowed into the country to do something called media when no one wanted responsibility for this. I had a visa, of course I had a visa. So all of a sudden we had the government, we had the Deputy Prime Minister doing morning TV saying, I don't know who this Katie Hopkins is, but she can pack her bongo drums and go home. I don't even play the bongo drums. It was wild. And then I had immigration. My visa had been revoked. I was now an illegal immigrant. I was going to be taken to an illegals detention centre. And eventually 2 minibus full of men came, rounded me up, put me in the back of a white van, took me to the airport and walked me onto the plane. I thought I would be handcuffed on the plane. True story. For the world to see. And I was supposed to be the bad guy. I'm not sure what makes me the bad guy, but because I refused to be intimidated, I popped back up somewhere else I wasn't supposed to be. I popped up in Arizona and I went straight to a tattoo bar. And I won't get it out now because I know you're a good Christian conservative, but I went straight into a tattoo bar with my passport, which has a big deported stamp on it.
Wow.
Yeah, big red one. And I got that deported stamp tattooed on my...
That's so funny.
Sounds like grass.
Yeah. You can say ass.
Can I say ass?
Yeah, you can say ass. Yeah.
Is it, right.
It's all right.
I'm trying to be well behaved.
Yeah.
I got it tattooed on my ass. And then I sent the picture of my ass to the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. Because
can I ask you something?
Times of insanity, you've got to laugh. Was I banged on the head as a kid?
Yeah, or were you abused, or what happened to you?
Wait a minute, this is you, Glenn Beck, asking me if I have issues. Yeah. Okay, just so we know where we're at here.
That's what I'm saying. There's a new level here.
God sent me today to make you feel normal. So here you go. It's my gift to you.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to me. I'm British military by background, and I have a zero tolerance of idiots. I won't stand for it.
The English are
polite, reticent.
May I? Because you
hit it. Apologetic.
Stick up their ass kind of people.
Ass.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we are.
And I love that. I love the British people.
We
but
apologise for everything.
Everything.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Right.
If we get into a lift, what you would call an elevator, we go in, we look down, we press the button, we look down. Sorry, because we're imposing on, and then we wait till the elevator goes ting, and then we glance up to see, and then the doors open and we say, sorry, thank you, sorry. And we walk out, and even if we walk the wrong way, we just keep going because that would be embarrassing.
Right.
Americans in an elevator, don't even get me started. Hey, how you doing? What floor do you want? 3? What's your name, Katie? You know what I mean? I come out of elevators in America like expecting twins. It's a lot. We're apologetic. We have a stick up our ass.
Yeah. So how do you fit in?
Yeah. Well, I do because I'm British to my core. I went through university. I came out sponsored by the British intelligence. I went through the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. I went to be an intelligence officer in the British Army. Wow. So I know how British I am. But it turns out that I also got born in an age of madness.
Yes.
And what we need is people who are unafraid.
Yes.
And we need people who are beyond. It's not that I would be fearful, for example, of being shot. I have no fear because there is nothing anyone will take from me that will stop me. I also am epileptic, so that might explain some of it. But I'm on extra time already. Yeah. And so I feel it's my duty to call out idiocy where I find it, which is pretty much, as the French would say, partout. It is everywhere. But I also am so thrilled for people who think the opposite of me. And the one thing I say when I do my stand-up shows now, one of the first things, something people would know about me, I have never asked to be liked. I have never asked to be agreed with. And I will never apologise for anything that I have ever said. And as long as you afford me that courtesy, I extend it to you every day of the week. And it's an unusual thing. For a very long time there, I was the most hated woman. I was the biggest in Britain. I was vilified. I was mocked. I was universally loathed. But that's
hard. I've been there.
It's hard.
In a bigger country.
In a bigger country. Yeah, more hated by more people.
But more people hated
even
me.
More. Yeah, and that's just in Texas.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't.
But it's hard.
Yeah, and I don't. I won't just, brush that away as that doesn't matter. Oh, it didn't touch the sides. You've got a skin of a rhino. That's not true. You
especially if you think you're doing it.
You're doing it
for
with
the
best.
right reasons.
Your
and
heart
you're
knows
trying.
The truth. Yeah.
You're trying to break through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I will absolutely acknowledge the people who wish to silence you, powerful people, NGOs, charities, heads of religions. They will push you until you swing. They will push you until you end your life in an effort to silence you, for sure. It just so happens that I've now lived long enough, and it's been long, but I've lived long enough that the world went so crazy that many people have done a 180 on me. And even they may not like me. I still don't really want to be liked. I think it's overrated. But they see that for 40 years, 30 years, I've been consistent. And all of a sudden, that's quite appealing. And so it's such a joy that I'm still here now that this time came. That's why I feel so unstoppable, and it's why I owe America so much.
Why?
It'll set me off, but 80 million Americans went out and voted for Trump. I believe he won the last election as well, having been at the installation of Biden. But 80 million Americans in our darkest hour went out and said, no, we're getting this guy back. And, your anthem and things, the shining light on the hill, the burning beacon, that for me, at a point where it was particularly hard, America is the shining light on the hill. And I can't even begin to tell you, people in Great Britain don't speak for us. That ridiculous little London mayor that Trump disinvited from the state banquet, Kim Jong-Starmer, they don't speak for us. Decent British people are cheering you on. And that was one of the proudest things about that Unite the Kingdom rally that I come to you from, is the aerial views of that. I felt like it connected me, directly with American people. Yeah. For the first time, we were able to say, no, look, here we are. We're with you.
Because we have been wondering, watching, because you guys get your view of us through the filters of media.
Yeah.
We get the same. And I'm watching the true insanity happening in England. Insanity. You're arresting comedians? You're what? You're arresting people for their points of view. You're going to. I saw a veteran, I think a wheelchair, picked up and carted off because he was attending a rally, and I'm like, what is happening? Because you gave birth to us. I mean, we're the child that slapped the doctor back.
Literally. But, I haven't done all those years. I've done a lot of years, but not all of those.
But I mean, we have always felt, probably since maybe War of 1812, not so good. But since that point, we have always felt like brothers and sisters.
100%.
Always. And we're looking at the land of Winston Churchill, who I believe was the only guy who actually understood what we were fighting. This place of common sense and common decency. And it's like, nobody in the government is listening to you. They've turned their back on you. They're insulting and assaulting you every step of the way. They're ripping your culture away. They're taking away your flag. I up until recently, I would only see little sparks, and I'd be like, how much more are they going to take?
Yeah, it is. And I have to explain, when I speak to Americans, that what I'm saying is true. Sometimes people will come up to me afterwards and go, is that right? Is that real? Because it sounds so incredible in its truest sense to an American. A lady I know arrested for holding up a flag. That is what she did. And she was arrested for holding up the British flag.
Oh, not the British flag, the English flag, or the British?
At that time, she was holding the Union one, which is the British flag. But
and what's the problem with that one?
She was standing where it might cause civil disobedience or something. But the point is, she was holding a flag. So everything you're saying is precisely correct. And demographically, because we are already overrun, power sits with the Muslim religion. Power sits with Muslim leaders.
Are you done?
And the government.
Is the nation done?
I'll never say we're done because we're still here fighting. I believe there will come a time not too far from now when the British people, true British people, will have to make very difficult choices. Either they will flee eastwards to Eastern Europe with our much more stronger Christian neighbours, Poland, Hungary, those countries. Or they will seek asylum, flee, try to come to America, or they will stand their ground. But certainly the time of the Crusades will need to come again if we are to return.
What do you mean by that?
We are overrun in every way, in every sense. Demographically, all births, Muslim births outnumber births to every and all other religion. This is no commentary on anyone's religion. This is just pure fact. Our mayors who control funding in our capital cities are Muslim. Mosques are not churches. A mosque is being built at the outermost, tippy-most end of Scotland and at the furthermost reaches at the end of the other side of our tiny country. This is about a takeover. And of course, America understands, because you have Minneapolis, because you have Dearborn, Michigan, and I see it all the time. These blue centres where they absolutely load it up with multiple occupancy homes so that they take the power, surrounded by a deep red countryside. Minnesota, I've spoken at rallies in the farmlands of Minnesota, the same model, and it is not by chance. And then the minute they get into power, there's change. Oh, let's change this. Let's take the prayer out. Let's have head dresses and headscarves. Let's change stuff. Keep pushing. So we will, in time, fall in some way, and we will have to fight to get freedoms back. And it's why you guys know so well it is much better to defend the freedoms that Americans are different to us, because your freedoms are God-given. They're in you. Americans, if I may say, as a foreigner and an outsider, and I know, people shout at me on stage. They say, we chased your British asses out of here twice before. Because I was like, once before, and they were like, twice. We chased you out twice. And then someone else, I was doing a speech.
We do have a long memory.
You're so brilliant. I was doing a speech. And we took your tea and we threw it in the sea. Well, thank you very much for the enthusiasm. Thank you. But the point is, British people have a stick up their ass, and we're very polite, and we don't have a revolution very easily. We're not French, but we're not American. And my outsider's observation of great Americans is that if I was to cut you open, in there is freedom, and in there is a constitution, and in there is, we're not a democracy, we are a republic, and in there is my Second Amendment. And that gives me so much joy. I love it. And that's why you are the shining light on the hill.
People here, though, are losing a lot of that. They don't have any idea, for instance, freedom of speech. They just think we're the same. And we are not, the same. I think if we would have lost this last election, I think we would have, we're in a different place.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I'm glad now that they turned DC into a green zone, a war zone. I'm glad they locked it down to install fraudulently, in my personal opinion, Biden. I'm glad that they did what you see happen in other places where they have a military coup and they install their own leader. I'm glad, because it gave Trump time, and it gave his people time, because this time when he came in, it was a different whole situation.
I've never seen anything like it.
I've never seen anything like it.
We've never had a president like this.
Bush,
it took 4 terms to change the country under FDR. 4. It took 12 years to do this. He's doing, it's like, what time is it?
Yeah, what's he done today?
What has he done?
Turn on a radio, and this is the reason I love being in the States as well. I can put the radio on and hear him all the time, but like every day, something new, or twice a day. 1 minute, he's going into Memphis to sort out the crime issue. Next minute, he's somehow popped up in the UK and managed to massively offend our nipple-height Muslim mayor. And then he's back at Charlie's. It's like the guy is everywhere all at once. And the people around him, I love them.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, they're solid.
Yeah.
Pete, come on, jumping out of a helicopter with his sunglasses on. Praise be.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
I know.
It's so exciting.
We're watching people like Marco Rubio.
Oh.
Every time I see Marco Rubio, I'm like, what happened? I mean, he's like fantastic.
Fantastic. Right?
How did that happen?
He grew a pair.
He did.
And he grew a significant pair.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Because Trump inspires, that's great leadership, right? Inspires confidence in others.
Yeah.
Which is what he's basically giving people permission, isn't he, to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And he's still funny.
He's very funny.
Just the comedian, and that appeals
His
to my
timing
soul.
is so. You watch him. I watch. I've stood behind him backstage and watched him, and I've seen how his timing, how he is constantly
His
looking.
Yeah,
and he's looking at the audience. He is judging. He is seeing how it's.
Yeah.
The guy is. If he wasn't president, he'd make an actually good comedian.
Stand-up, right.
Yeah.
So that is my sense of him now that I'm doing stand-up, is that his comedic timing is brilliant.
Brilliant.
And actually the brilliance of just always being the best at everything, it's almost like a caricature anyway, which he plays so brilliantly well.
Yes.
And so I know these have been dark days, and I know this has been a horrible 10 days in America, but I cannot help but continually see the greatness of this time. And I hope a little bit to bring like a little British mirror to America and remind you guys, because obviously it's kind of a lot of clicks and things to talk ourselves down, but to shine a little mirror into the faces of Americans and go, do you realise just how splendid you are? I mean, really. I was doing an event the other day, and the what do you call it here? The guy that looks after all law and order, the sheriff.
The sheriff.
The sheriff
you
turned
had one
up.
of Nottingham, right?
Well, a very long time.
Yeah,
The sheriff turned up in huge boots,
Yeah.
a massive buckle, a huge hat with weaponry on his waist. Please.
So we have a sheriff here in Fort Worth. I love this guy.
Come on.
And he's just like that, big hat. And he said, when Biden was in, and they were talking about taking people's guns, and I said to the sheriff, because the sheriff in our Constitution, he's the only one that answers directly to the people.
Come on.
Okay, so no police, nothing. He to the Constitution, the sheriff, and the people, and last line of defense. And I said to him, so what happens if they start to come for the guns? He said, well, my deputies, they all need a gun, so I guess I'm just going to have to deputize every citizen in the county.
Can I just shut my eyes and you try that again? Because it was quite nice. I'll just get that as my personal little voice note. But so I asked the sheriff, I was like, can I be your buckle bunny? But I didn't really get the concept of it. Yeah, and he was like, you could be a buckle raccoon. I don't think it's complimentary. No. But I love them. And I love, having spent this time in South Africa, having seen the state of my country, the fact that Americans are certain they will not be laying down their weapons. And actually...
Oh, no, they won't.
During the installation of Biden, the stockpiling of weaponry and ammunition was a glorious thing to behold. And I would go to clubs and things, and the boys, the old timers would go on, tell Katie about what you've got. And this guy would go, well, I've got this and this. And they'd go down the list and it'd get to the last guy and he'd go, Brian, tell Katie what you've got. And he goes, you mean apart from the cannons? And that is my experience of America.
I have a friend who has a tank.
Yeah, exactly. Tanks, cannons. And then, not to make this a male thing, I've been in Portland just when Biden was installed, and we believed if Trump had got in, they were just going to burn all of America. You could feel it coming. If Trump had been allowed to win, they would have burned. They would have burnt Beverly Hills. They would have burnt everything down. And this lady, and she must have been ACR. She goes, "They may come on my property. They may come in my house. They will not leave my house." And I heard that over and over, which is that these grandparents in America have been around a long time. They have taken and seen a lot, but they are not taking anymore. And that you're anchored into really solid ground here.
You have a right. If a bear has a right to defend its cub when you come into its cave, I have the same right in my home.
That's it. And I mean, I know there's ridiculous states like Minnesota or bits of Minneapolis where you're supposed to, do come in. Please take my watches. Please, can I get you a cup of tea? Right. Can I? That's Gavin Newsom, isn't it? Yeah, he thinks you should sort of welcome them in, say goodbye to your possessions. But apart from nonsense places like that, just great.
More with Katie in just a second. First, most of us don't realize how much pain we're actually in until something changes. Maybe you walk up a flight of stairs without grabbing the rail. Maybe you laugh really hard without wincing. Maybe you can pick up the paintbrush again. That's what Relief Factor did for me. I could pick up a pencil and paintbrush again. The pain in my hands was so incredibly crippling. It's a daily supplement. It was developed by doctors, designed to target the underlying inflammation that causes so many of our aches and pains, back, neck, knees, joints. It's not about masking pain. It's about helping your body fight it the natural way. This isn't a drug. It's not a prescription. No fog. Just 4 simple ingredients working together to give your body a chance to heal. For tens of thousands of people, including me, that's life-changing. So you've been living with pain, accepting it, managing it, enduring it. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to just live with it. Get Relief Factor. Try their 3-week quick start, $19.95, less than $1 a day. Try it and see how it can help you turn back the clock on pain. ReliefFactor.com or call 800, the number 4-RELIEF. That's 800-4-RELIEF. Can you tell me about Tommy Robinson? Because nobody really knows here. Good guy, bad guy. What's his story? Can you help?
I would say always with Tommy, his heart, which is, I think, the thing that matters,
yes,
is absolutely in the right place. And it was born in the right place. He was born in Luton, which is like, forgive me, Luton, the arse end of nowhere land. I come from the arse end of nowhere land as well. So we're all equal. And he just grew up with a regular guy, supporting football, going out with his friends, having a lovely time. And then he saw his town completely ruined by the new arrivals. He saw people no longer recognised each other. People didn't know who was living in their street. The streets became dirty. And then things started happening to our young white girls. And he was the first guy to call out the majority Pakistani Muslim rape gangs that are up and down our country. I
cannot believe that truth. I don't know how many Americans understand that that's true. That's happening. And your prime minister
won't.
I mean, it's
because power sits with the Muslim population because it is the majority. And I know some of your viewers or listeners or my dissenters will go on and say, the Muslim population is 4%. That is not the reality, and it doesn't work in terms of geographical locations, and that's how democracy works. That's not the point. The point is the people who want power cannot speak of this terrible tragedy because they require the Muslim vote, which is why you're seeing the same sorts of things happen in America. If you need to play to the Muslim vote, you won't speak the truth about what happens with certain people inside of that population. And Tommy always did. And let's remember, I'm saying this sat here now, 5 years ago, I was threatened with arrest for saying that we have a Pakistani Muslim rape gang problem. Police
Is this
were
when they
coming
were
to my
trying to
doors.
behead you?
That came shortly after.
Okay.
Yeah, but even to say that,
right.
even to state the truth, because when facts become hate speech, then truth is an arrestable offence. And that's precisely where we find ourselves. But Tommy, sometimes maybe in his life it's a little chaotic. Maybe there's things that, aren't my business to explain. His heart is in the right place, and he is the first guy to call out these rape gangs and be utterly eviscerated from his country because of it.
Martin Luther King was an extraordinarily flawed man, extraordinarily flawed. But he did one thing right, and changed America because he did that one thing right. And I don't know about Tommy if that's him, but I mean, usually it's, with the exception, honestly, of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, right.
Usually all people are deeply flawed. Deeply flawed.
100%. And not speaking about Tommy, about myself. I am the most flawed person. There are examples you can find in a heartbeat of all the terrible things I've done. Husband's awful behaviour, just dreadful things. So I see those flaws. I refuse to be shamed by them because these are my truths of my life. I have been quite naughty in my life, and I'm going to say, for the record, I've enjoyed a great deal of it, and I don't apologise for it. I'm not that good a person, but I think Charlie truly, honestly, always was.
Yeah, I do too. Where were you when you heard about Charlie? Were you here? You were here in the United States?
No, I was online doing... I mean, the Charlie, it's just so big that my small things don't matter. But I run an online pub, right? So British people love a pub.
Yeah.
And since when we were locked down, and when we started to lose people who couldn't see a way through, or were so lonely, or kids that thought maybe this would be the rest of their life and just took themselves to a wood. And we kept hearing stories were found in woodland. And what it meant was people were hanging themselves because lockdown is so horrific that this was never spoken of either, the number of elderly people we lost. Mm-hmm. So I started this pub.
Katie's Arms, right?
Katie's Arms, because I have some arm muscles still, praise the Lord. And everything else is going south, so you have to rebel by lifting weights. That's all I'm going to say.
Right, I got it.
Yeah, but so the Katie's Arms, online, half an hour, mostly mocking myself, my parents, whatever, but a way of people. And then this thing took off. So Hawaii was there, California was there, because there's brilliant conservatives in California. People from all over the world flocking into this little silly woman laughing with a glass of wine. And people hadn't really seen a woman without filter, or I have no sponsors, so please, feel free to edit me for yours.
No.
I have no paymaster. I don't earn a wage from anyone. No one wants to use me to promote their product because seriously, no one's going to buy it. And the glorious thing about that is, boom, here I am laughing away at the world, right? Saying stuff you just can't say about people, gossiping, having fun, like you would at a pub. And people would say, oh, she's drunk. And I would never have drunk. It was their only way to square the circle of this crazy woman just letting rip. And I was on a Katie's Arms, and it was the last 5 minutes, and I saw in the comments, Charlie's been shot. The last 5 minutes, I was like, well, he'll be okay. It's shot in the neck. And of course, immediately just in my heart thinking, Charlie's going to be okay. And then restating for everybody who was still with me to say, this isn't the stuff we fear. Charlie wouldn't fear this either. Charlie would have feared weakness, or he would have feared people losing their faith. He would not have feared this. Closed out. And then, of course, we got the news.
What did that mean to people in England? What did Charlie's death, how well did people know him? I mean, the march in the street, I saw them carrying Charlie Kirk signs.
Yes.
Was that, put that into perspective for us.
So I believe all of our paths in life are already set. I believe I always knew we would end up here after the inauguration, but a long time before that. And the Unite the Kingdom rally, Tommy had said he wanted to do something unifying and uplifting, which is really important right now as well, in all things, when he was in solitary confinement. And I wasn't allowed to go in and see Tommy because they also prevented his close friends from going in. And I appealed everything. They wouldn't let me. But he agreed this date and I said, I'm there. He said, you'll be there. And I was like, you have my word. And on that day, we just got this window where Tommy is free for a moment because he's always in jail for something. And I was there with Tommy at the front, holding the banner, which was trying to keep us with some sort of military discipline. You can imagine my military.
Right,
I was outraged by people's lack of discipline. No, it's fine. I'll get over myself. And holding the banner, and other great patriots with us. Dominik Tajinski from Poland was there. Great people. And amongst these crowd, they say 3 million. Some people say 100,000. I don't care what the number was because the aerial shots show America how many of us were there.
Yes. Overwhelming.
And then I looked around and there were all of these people holding up photos of Charlie. And honestly, because I consider myself, in my soul somewhere I'm supposed to be partly American, I didn't realise so many people knew Charlie, and I didn't realise so many people cared for Charlie, amongst our people.
Yeah.
You know, I knew they would have the England flag. I know that they're good people. I know that they will stand. They will be the ones that stand in their boots. So until the last day, they aren't leaving. But I just couldn't believe there was one of Tommy's really closest friends stood on the side of that stage all day holding up Charlie's picture. And it was just a great unspoken moment where the crowd brought Charlie with them. And finally, for the first time in all of my life, including being utterly removed from my country, our voices were heard on possibly the most important day, when I would want Americans to see that decent British people stand with them. And it's completely blown me away, to be honest.
So you know, it meant a lot to us to see it. Meant a lot to us. So thank you. Wow, final segment with Katie in just a minute. First, let me tell you about Preborn. If you could go back in time and stop the Holocaust, would you? If you could rescue one person from the biggest atrocity in human history, you'd do it, right? That's a big thing, and we think of, well, that's a big thing, and it's in the past, I can't do that, et cetera, and then we don't recognize that big things are happening right now. I want you to realize that every single day in America, about 3,000 babies are aborted. Someday history is going to look back on this and say, this is a genocide of our own children, because right now 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in an abortion. But unlike the past, you can do something about this today. Preborn network clinics are on the front lines. They meet women in their darkest hour, loving them, helping them choose life. And this year alone, over 36,000 babies have been rescued. And the ultrasound, that simple moment when a mom sees her babies, is the game changer. It literally doubles a baby's chance at life. So let me ask you again, if you could, would you? Because you can. Right now, $28 provides a life-saving ultrasound. Go to preborn.com/Glenn. That's preborn.com/Glenn, or dial pound 250. Say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Together, we can end this tragedy. One mom, one baby at a time. Let me go to explain to America what the Oxford Union is.
Yeah, so the Oxford Union is a bastion of what it means to be British, to be academically gifted, to philosophize and debate
discipline,
the most important matters of the day and of history, and a place of rules, a place of discipline and respect.
Yeah.
A place where there is a system for walking in, a system for addressing the chair, a process for those seated to ask a question, a process for responding to the question. It is formality.
How old is it?
I'm ashamed to say, I don't know, other than it's as old as England itself. And it is...
So more than 50 years.
Oh, for goodness sake. It is the oldest thing.
Right.
And I've had the privilege of speaking there, even at times when I have been largely ostracized from all other things like jobs or banks or life or home or owning anything. Still, the Oxford Union would invite me because they held true to the belief that speech matters, but always in a way that was seen as like the ultimate debating chamber. I don't want to assert in the world, but certainly in Europe and in our time. Yeah.
Charlie was just there.
Oh,
I thought he did a fabulous
so good
job. And I've always loved, your parliament is out of control. I don't even understand it. But the Oxford Union has always been, to me, a place where you're like, that's civilization. That's civilization.
Right. And also like almost like a best version of yourselves. So sometimes people not to make this about me because this is Charlie was there. But when people don't know me or whatever, maybe they see the talk I gave at the Oxford Union and they'll say, oh, I didn't know you. Then I watched you speak at the Oxford Union. And they were like, and I get you. And that's to me, it's like there's a Wikipedia version of me, which is, goodness knows, it's the raccoon's buckle bunny version, dreadful. But an Oxford Union version of yourself is the best version of yourself. And I think Charlie did himself so proud.
So listen to this from The Spectator. Messages from the student group chats linked to the Oxford Union reveal that those who objected to the conduct of Barons, how do you say that name, have themselves been subjected to threats and intimidation designed to silence them. One incoming student who questioned the conduct was told that he needed to learn to shut the F up because someone will teach you. A member of the group chat joked about the killing of a student's mother. Another said that he deserved to have his phone number leaked. When he argued against the murdering of political opponents, he was told to take out his defenses of racism and leave the chat. These are the people who are running the Oxford Union, that are part of what is happening.
So the incoming president of the Oxford Union is I won't even call it a person, is the thing that dressed in, I don't know, bedtime wear to stand and talk opposite Charlie, and also celebrated that Charlie's no longer with us, and also refused to back down on any of that. And Oxford says they won't be disciplining him.
Why?
Because
you
England
are nothing.
Overrun.
You have a king. You're nothing but tradition. Why?
We're overrun. The power sits with the other now. And that guy, just for the record, that dressed in his pajamas to stand anywhere near our Charlie, didn't even meet the requirement to go to Oxford, which is straight A stars. He had an A and maybe 2 Bs, probably in something like golfing studies, quite frankly, but was let in because of DEI and because he went to that school and was born to those parents and is that colour. So he doesn't deserve to be there in the first place. And that's okay, because that's not the side any of us want to be near.
This is what Oxford's website says. Joining the Oxford Union gives you the opportunity to participate in the free exchange of ideas at an extraordinary place. Was that ever true?
Yes, always true.
And when did that stop?
It's a recent thing, but for the last 5 years it's taken turns. And we saw recently a vote on Hamas and Palestine, which frankly is the morons, the morons running the asylum. And so it's over. And not that it matters, not that I hold much weight, but I've written to the Oxford Union and I've told them I will not step 1 foot on their campus again until they get rid of that individual that spoke so badly about Charlie.
It's fascinating to me that Charlie Kirk was killed on a campus by somebody student age. And on that campus, some of the classes cheered when they found out. Are the universities fixable?
I mean, we could pray for an asteroid, which I think is probably the solution at this point. And I think, no, they're not. But let me go to a personal level of, I am very, very keen always not to be blindly optimistic, because I've got my eyes wide open. I've forced them to see things I really wish I hadn't. But I will always move to the point of how great our team is. And that can be the people that disagree with us, agree with us, but happy to do so in in the way Charlie would have wanted. Those raging idiots laughing or celebrating the death of Charlie, they are so irrelevant to us. If I could put them in a pen, honestly, you're not allowed to speak about people as if they're animals because that will get you arrested in my country. But frankly, I put them in a pen. They can go in a zoo. I don't care. They are animals and I will treat them as such. I probably wouldn't bother feeding them, quite honestly, and I treat my dogs better than that. But our side...
But no controversy here.
No controversy here, because obviously no one would say that, especially not if we've got sponsors. But our side just has this way of lifting ourselves up and being better than those people and better than the people celebrating Charlie, because universities have made themselves obsolete. Because whilst there is a tranche of kids still going through them right now, and frankly, if you've paid $75,000 to go to one and you're in amongst it in Austin and you're busy celebrating, you're so far in, there's no helping you. Mm-hmm. You just need to be put somewhere far offshore, and locked up, ideally in maybe Alligator Alley or something. I don't mind where, but just go away. You're beyond help. People who are beyond help. But there is a very savvy new generation coming through. Mm-hmm. And Charlie spoke to those kids. We saw them turning up in Arizona. They turned out at vigils all over the country. Mm-hmm. They turned out at the Unite the Kingdom rally. And I have tried my very best not to influence my children or tell them what to think, because you can see how obnoxious I am. And actually, for the longest time there, when I was a threat to my own children, I didn't get to be in their lives very much. We had to take them away from me. We changed.
What does that mean, you were a threat to your own children?
So at the point when I was the most hated and I had the biggest voice, and it was decided by powerful organizations, political groups and religious organizations that I would be destroyed, that destruction was universal. So it was my jobs, all of them. Lawfare that I'd caused you today. You could say you perceived I seriously harmed you with my speech. You can sue me. Yeah. And they all lined up and did so. They bankrupted me and I lost our home. And then the British government did a play called The Assassination of Katie Hopkins. There's posters that went up around the country. And then my children repeatedly were reported to social services, the kind of care services, as that I abused them and that people had seen me abusing them. And they were little then, and they had to be interviewed separately about whether they had been abused. And I had got to a point where it was obvious to any rational individual that the only way to protect the children would be to remove yourself in a sort of final way. And I did leave my house to do that one day, because a mother's duty is to protect her cubs. And lovely Mark found me and stopped me, and he then took the children and took them away. Together, we worked together. He didn't take them from me. He took them away to safety. He changed all of their names. None of them have the same name as each other. And then he took them to a new place and put them under a new address that I have no part. I own nothing. And then I left to America. And then I never went to any of their schools, not one day.
How, as a mother, how do you process this? I'm surprised you're standing.
I have sparkles on, so all is well. Because it was a while ago, and America took me in and let me be on its roads and its sidewalks and its clubs and Republican events, and it made me realize I was a good person. I thought I was. And America rehabilitated me with its patriots. And now the world gave me back my voice. The world's done a 180 and I now can speak again. And the thing to return to where we were, about why I have such faith in young people, is that universities no longer matter. I totally accept the elite universities here, amazing, and I so see, I so see, like, if you play football here, that really matters, and that's amazing. But other unis, our unis, it's over. my kids, without my say-so, having missed much of their lives, they are 21, farmer. She's a tough bird. She can drive a tractor. She has 250 head of cattle that she runs. In fact, she'd like to come out to Texas and be a farmer here. I'm very keen for her to marry an American. Yes. Yeah. Then my next daughter, 20 years old, she's gone into the hospital as a nurse. She cares for dementia patients, never went to college. My son, who's 17 and 6'4", is a mechanic, is an apprentice at a garage, will never go to uni. And I see that playing out time after time after time. Kids choosing a different route. Maybe they'll do some uni, maybe they'll do some learning, but they are not going to be on campus to get themselves into massive debt, to be indoctrinated by people who look like those weirdos on campus, or look like the liberal women look, like the feminazis 2.0, where the O stands for, oh my God, is that thing really a woman? Right? They are some ugly women out there. The feminazis with their placards at the inauguration of Trump. Come on, save the polar bear. None of them knew why they were there. My body, my choice. With that body, you don't get a choice, honey bunny. You know what I mean? So my hope is universities are disappearing in significance. Only the ultimate academic elite will remain, as it always should have been. And therefore, the left will lose their ability to indoctrinate children. And I also see this huge homeschooling movement building in the UK. It's obviously massive here, but it's starting in the UK. And in fact, that's what this T-shirt is from a homeschooling movement in the UK, where people realise they need to take back control from the government in order to restore family and faith. The movement is afoot in the UK as well.
We used to understand that governments are not to be trusted. I mean, that's why we were
That's what you are.
And how we ever thought, bringing the government in to run the schools would be a great way to make sure that we always are cautious of the government. How stupid.
How stupid.
Yeah.
How stupid was I as a mum, a young mum, thinking I had to take my kid to school. Not even a question. They're 4 years old. Now I must take them to school every day and pick them up at 3:00 every day to sit in a classroom with other kids who haven't even been potty trained yet. I would never do that now. But I didn't ask questions. You know, we should question everything all the time.
Okay, a couple of things.
Yeah.
There's a video that you made that has not been seen. It's your apology video. Because I don't think you can play it in the UK.
Oh, no, this isn't an apology video.
Well, no, I'm sorry. It's a video explaining. It's the exact opposite. You're right, of an apology.
Yeah, I was going to say, hold on, wait. That must be AI.
It's what It's what you are explaining. You were dragged into the police.
Yes.
I want to play it, and then you explain what happened.
Okay. It's Tuesday, the 5th of August here at Exeter Police Station. And I, Katie Hopkins, state as follows. I have attended this interview under protest as I was threatened with arrest if I did not attend. I consider this interview and the police investigation to be an unlawful interference with my right to freedom of expression pursuant to Article 10 ECHR Human Rights Act 1998. I reserve my position in respect of any actions I choose to take, including but not limited to a formal complaint and claim for damages against Devon and Cornwall Police. I run a comedy pub night called the Katie's Arms, live on my Instagram at 8 p.m. on Fridays for 30 minutes. I started the Katie's Arms during the idiocy of COVID lockdowns in order to help people struggling with their mental health. The Katie's Arms is now an international community of people wanting others to live their best life, laughing with me and at me. My audience choose to join me on my Instagram channel live. If anyone was offended, that is their choice. I do not republish or upload this content. It is ridiculous that my comedic speech is subject to a criminal investigation, and as such, my presence here is ridiculous. I will not answer any questions. And that was my statement to Devon and Cornwall Police today.
What is that about?
So that video has never been seen before. That video I made on the day that I had to go and be interviewed under caution, which means recorded, 2 officers from the CID, the most serious of the police officers in the UK.
CID stands for,
Chief Inspectors Division.
Okay.
Some people say Chief Investigation, but either way, it sort of means these are the big boys.
Okay.
I was told I would be arrested if I didn't turn up for interview under caution, which is where they record what they're saying. It's basically gathering evidence in order that they can charge you. And I knew, and I was on my tour at the time, a stand-up comedy tour of the UK, and I knew the way the world works for me, that I would be arrested before one of my big events, 1,500 people in my audience, and I won't let that audience down. There will be a show, but not that kind of show. So I went to be interviewed under caution by the British police for my comedy pub night, Katie's Arms, where I made a joke at my own expense, actually about my epilepsy, that is perceived to have caused offence.
I get this language right. Is perceived to have caused offence.
And for the crime...
And you were making a joke about you.
Yeah, about my seizures and automatic weapons.
Sure.
We could join those dots, but it's pretty funny. I have a wine glass in my hand because it's pub night. Everyone knows it's pub night. But for the crime of telling my jokes online at my pub night, and remember, people have to join this. I'm not stood on a street corner shouting at the world like some lunatic. Right. They have to opt in to be there. Mm-hmm. But someone that opted in perceived that they may have been offended, and as a result, I was threatened with arrest. I had to go to a police station, be interviewed by 2 officers under caution. They kept me there for over an hour with insane questions.
You share? Like what?
Oh, yeah, sure. But I worked with a lawyer to write because I wasn't answering any questions, no comment on everything. But here's my statement that I read in the room, which states very clearly, this is ridiculous and you are ridiculous. And I was told, the officer, and I want this to be noted on record, and I'm grateful for you for giving me the opportunity to do this in America, the officer stopped the recording, which is highly irregular, and told me if I discuss this, that will be seen as prejudicial to my case. So after she stopped the recording, she then effectively threatened me that I was not to speak about being interviewed under caution. And so I choose to share with you my statement and share with the world that this is what is happening in Great Britain.
Because you can't release it there, but if I release it, then you're not in trouble.
And maybe I am in trouble, but you have to go back to fundamentals of life, which is, does this make sense at any level? No, I'm okay with it.
They just arrested another comedian recently.
Yeah, Graham Linehan.
Well,
yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah, he ran to Phoenix, actually, and applied for asylum. So he will be the first test case of asylum for UK comedians or speakers in America. You have to go back to your instincts, right? And that was true for me in South Africa. That was true for me in Australia. That's true when dealing with the British police, because there is no law anymore. There's no such thing as the law in the UK. The law is just a tool of government control. So you have to go to your instincts. Am I in the wrong? No. So I choose whatever comes next. I welcome it because I'm not in the wrong.
Wow. What?
Could be at the airport when I get back.
Yeah, what an amazing time we live in.
Isn't it? Isn't
it's kind
it?
of I think about this often because sometimes I'd be like,
Yeah.
I haven't gone through what you've gone through, but
everybody's gone through something.
Everybody's
It's
gone
the
through
same
something.
for everybody.
Yeah. And I think to myself sometimes, I so tired of this. And then I think, what a blessing to live right now. Because you know who you are.
Oh, my goodness.
You've been thrown up against the wall and you know, I won't take that.
I love it.
I do too.
When you wake or if any time you feel like, oh gosh, remember, this is the time to be alive. Because we had to hit the darkness before we see the light. And I have been feeling the wind come for 4 or 5 years. I could feel it start to turn. I went from a very dark place to now. The wind is in. We are starting to turn towards the light. You saw it in Phoenix with Charlie. You feel it in your life, right? Mm-hmm. I feel it every day. It's why I am so free. And now, from walking out to jump, as I did, I am now 2025, not to blow my own trumpet, because that's not a very British thing, but 2025, my UK stand-up comedy tour with just me, 52,000 seats, 5 nations, the fastest selling stand-up comedy small tour in the UK. And we'll be back in 2026 because every single one of our venues who were reluctant to take me at first, some cancelled in the early years, have rebooked for longer because we will sell that place out in 10 minutes because decent people make that happen, which just gives you faith. Mm-hmm. And we performed at Trump Turnberry in 2025, Trump's amazing golf course. And we're going to go back there in 26 to perform for a whole weekend at Trump Turnberry, 16th and 17th of July. And Americans this year came over to join us there. So I choose, of all the pain that we all go through, I choose all of it and more. If I'm arrested, when I return home, please know I choose it because this is the time. And we will be dragged through more coals, but this is the time to be alive.
I knew I would enjoy conversation with you. I had no idea how much more I would admire you. You're a remarkable human being.
Don't be kind.
No. Can I just ask you as an American one thing, and then we'll call it quit? I don't understand King Charles. I mean, what is going to happen with... It's insane. He is so not good. I understand, why his mom was like, I got to live longer.
Yeah, she wasn't she?
I'll do
awesome.
She was awesome.
Her whole life, she's promised, whether it be long or short, I give my whole life to this country. Right. And boy, did she do that.
I loved her. Not so much with Charles. Are you going to make it to the next one?
No. He had an opportunity to be Winston Churchill and the King, their relationship where they said, we're not leaving this capital city. We stay here. We fight, we win. We fight them on the beaches. We win. Yeah. The King could have said, this country needs its royal family. This country needs to stand for what we used to stand, centuries of tradition, right? I could write that King's speech for him in a moment, and it's what we needed. And he failed, and not only did he fail, he doubled down on the other side. He celebrates Ramadan and Eid. He invites people in for iftar at the whatever. I mean, whatever, but he's the opposite of what we needed. The royal family, because of that weakness, the royal family cannot and will not survive. William and Kate will be the last semblance of a royal family, but truly they are diluting what it meant to be royal. We liked them when they were aloof. We liked them when they were untouchable, and those two want to be your friend and your next door neighbour and the person in Starbucks. The royal family will not make it.
How long?
One more generation. William and Kate, that's it.
It's amazing to watch. Amazing to watch.
But we lived in the time of the Queen we knew royalty.
She was amazing. You are too. I feel like I've been with like kind of a, I don't know, dishwater royalty. I don't know, but
raccoon buckle bunny.
But you are
no, I'm
fabulous.
definitely not royalty, but I certainly bring the positive. And the last thing I've just been doing here, we just left from an event where we were raising money through I did the auction, which you can imagine is pretty funny, and we raised a record-breaking amount of money for candidates, Republican candidates, as they go into their primaries, in order that we can keep the great state of Texas red. So please know that I'm trying to contribute my bit while I'm here.
Thank you. We need you in Arizona too.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I love Scottsdale.
Yeah,
that's fancy.
Yeah. God bless you. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.